Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. You've seen the title of this video, and you've most likely clicked on it for that reason. You want to get into gacha games, and you've heard horror stories probably of, oh, it's pay to win, and you got this, and you got that. So, I'm just gonna go around telling you basic stuff about gacha games, what you should know going in, and but I'm going to firstly start it off with a warning. Now, basically, it doesn't matter how you do it. Yes, you can play gacha games free to play. I have never spent money to pool for anything. I've spent money for kind of like a subscription thingy. Hold on, let me find it. It's this. You get like things daily for 30 days. That's the only thing I've spent on before on this game. I have never spent money to get characters. So you can in these games, well, majority. Genshin Impact is it's easier to spend money in Genshin than it is to pull the characters. So Genshin, if you want to play completely free to play, I would not recommend Genshin. But if you want to play free to play, HSR is in other words, HSR stands for Honkai Star Rail. That's also another thing. If you want to play free to play without spending a single dime, I would highly recommend Wuthering Waves. And Zenless is Hoyoverse games. You gotta be it depends on. It could change at any moment. But Wuthering Waves, I feel, is the most free to play friendly game because, like, characters, like I have Lene, which is the newest one. Characters do have what's called a best in slot, which means these characters work best with each other. But with Wuthering Waves, like for instance, I have my team right now is three basically like main or sub DPS, or damage dealers. You can have a team like this and be fine. If you want to clear endgame content, you will actually need like an actual functioning team. But if you're just doing the story and the exploration, does not matter what kind of team you have. So in Wuthering Waves, you can do what you want, basically. But the main warning I wanted to have is, yes, you can do free to play, but obviously this is gambling, whether you do it for free or not. So if you have a gambling addiction, I would highly, highly recommend you do not play a gacha game. All right, just click off this video immediately. Don't give it a second thought. Just if you have a gambling addiction, I would not recommend doing this. But for those who have stayed, Wuthering Waves is a very, very good game in terms of players. Well, okay, the community, that's a whole nother can of worms. That I would highly recommend not going on Twitter for gacha community unless you have to. But anyway, but for this, it's very easy. Now, one thing there is a 50-50. Now that's where they get you. So, in other words, there's a 50-50% percent chance when you pull for a character, and as you can see, it says a 5-star character is guaranteed within 80 convenes. Once you hit that, once you get, a 5-star pops up, it does a little animation. It's a 50-50 that you get Lene, for instance, the rate up character, or you get one of the standard 5 stars, which are basically the 5 stars that when the game starts, basically, like the characters that the game starts out with. So there is a 50-50 chance. Now, the one thing that Wuthering Waves does perfectly right is with the weapon banners, there is no 50-50. As soon as you see that 5-star, you know you've got the weapon that you want. So, now I understand why they need a 50-50 for the thing. They want people to keep doing it, but that is what it is. But for the weapon banner, it is completely and utterly, as soon as you see the 5-star pop up, you know you've got the weapon you want. But here's the thing. Now, this game has been out for a little while. We're on 3.0. You're probably wondering, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to catch up on so much story. Yet you can, if you want to catch up on the story and understand things, you can go through the story. But the good thing about Wuthering Waves is it has a skip function. So if you're if you only play for the gameplay and the exploration, you can just skip all the story. That being said, though, I would highly recommend the story personally. I really like it. The 1.0 story, in other words, when you first start the game, it's a little rough. I mean, 1.0 gacha game story is rough for really anything personally. The only personal 10 out of 10 1.0 story I actually ever played was HSR, but I guess if you want to get technical, it was like probably like 1 point something the story was. But either way, this game is very good. Um, but yeah, this game is literally the only game I could with confidence say this is free to play friendly. Like you can play ZZZ, you can play HSR if you want. I only play ZZZ and Wuthering Waves. Arcanite's Enfield is coming out soon. So I think that's a good game. Hopefully, I'll see it and then if I'll make a video on it if I think it's free to play friendly. Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend Wuthering Waves as your first gacha game because they're so generous with stuff. Like you get, let me see, events. So you get 5 pools. So one for the standard banner and one for the premium banner. And for those who are unaware of some gacha lingo, premium currency is for the characters that are new or are valuable in the story. For instance, these people were so there's standard 5 stars and then limited 5 stars. Limited 5 stars, no matter what gacha game it is, are always going to be better than the standard 5 stars. So limited 5 stars are story oriented, which standard are too, but standard characters are only in the story for like 1.0, 1.x. You know, once it goes to 2.0, those characters just are gone. No longer in the story. It's just how gacha games are. For limited characters, they're going to be in the story. Like, for instance, Lene is a 3.0 character. She's the newest one, the newest story character, basically. Um, so, yeah. So, there is that. But yeah, they're very generous. There are tons, and I mean tons of events. These are all the events right now. As you can see, well, okay. This one right here is just basically like this one's permanent. This one just has basically whatchamacallit. Basically like when you first boot up the game, this would be like your checklist for things to do. But you know, there's tons of stuff to do on all these things, these events, and there's also permanent events as well. Like permanent events, these are all the permanent events. Now obviously, the one thing with these types of events is usually the permanent events when they first come out, they'll have like special extra rewards. But, you know, like for instance, this one, you get 400 asteroids, which for a 10 pool, if you're new to gacha games, highly recommend. Do not do 1 pool at a time. Do 10 pools. Wait until you get a 10 pool. But, yeah, but 10 pools are where it's at. You got to do 10 pools. But 1,600 asteroid is how much 10 pool is. So as you can see, I'm a little broke. I went on a pooling spree with, I pooled for her and her. But yeah, only pool, like, I think, yeah, a guaranteed within 80 comfy. I think, hard pity is like 90. I think, like, once you reach a certain level of pity, I think it's 180 or something. 160 maybe. Is like, in other words, if you lose the 50-50 and you keep losing it, once you get to 160 pity, you'll immediately get the character. But I'm going to be completely honest. If this is what I do. Even if it's a player or character I really want, if I lose the 50-50, I stop pooling. Because then the next character that I really want, once I get it, you will get it. Because if you lose the 50-50 on the next banner, you could pool and then you're guaranteed that character. So if you lose the 50-50, even if it's a character you really like, Unless you know the characters that are coming and you don't want them, then you can continue pooling. But I would highly recommend if you lose 50-50, just wait until the next character comes out that you want. So there's that. And also, there is a ton of stuff to do. Now, the gacha games, for those who don't know, are very grindy, I guess I should say. Sometimes it's fun. Wuthering Waves to me is a pretty fun grind. I can get on and actually like doing it because the combat's fun and that kind of stuff. Um, but the thing is though, is that sometimes it does get a little tedious sometimes. But all you have to really do is do this, like do the activity thing, which you should do pretty quickly. They're easier to do when you're doing quests and stuff. So, like, just run around for a couple minutes and you'll get most of the stuff. And especially if you complete a main quest, you get 100, which is all of it. But you get some for logging in too. Um, but yeah, so I would highly recommend this game as your first gacha game. It's very fun, and there's tons of stuff to do. It's very fun. I am a little biased, I won't lie. I love this game, but you know, if you don't like it, that is fine. But I would highly recommend it for your first game because it's very generous and it's very free to play friendly. Now, there are things called echoes that are how you build a character. Now, you can hit depending on what console or what you play on. Actually, I think the only console it's on is PS5. But you hit the suggest button when all of these are empty, and it'll put what you what your character is supposed to have. So if you go based on that, you'll be fine. There are certain things, but as always, you can look on YouTube for guides and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I think I got everything. I think I got everything. One thing I will notice, I told you about the weapon banner and all that other stuff. That's the one thing though, is you don't get the character and the weapon. You just get the character when you search for the character banner. So in other words, if you want their signature, which is their own weapon, you're gonna have to pull for it. Which it is a different currency, which I think is a first for at least for it's the first gacha game I played that had two different currencies for the weapon banner. So you have obviously you have these ones. What are they called again? Radiant Tide. I forgot what they were called for a minute there. You have Radiant Tide for the characters, and then you have uh, Forging Tide for the thing. These are separate. Now, one thing to note, I almost forgot, is as you pool, you get currency. So you get currency. I've already spent it for the Radiant Tides, but you get these if uh, you re get a character. So in other words, 4 stars, you'll get a lot of 4 stars, obviously. 4-star characters. You'll get 4-star characters over and over again. You'll get these for it, which can be permanently exchanged. You don't have like for these ones, you have obviously 7 of each you can get. But for these, as you can get as many of the things as you want as long as you have enough coral for them. But so you get now these ones you get just for pooling in general. Um, these ones are obviously the astrites, however many astrites you get. Um, but yeah, it's a lot. I won't lie. But but with that out of the way, that kind of sums it up. I probably didn't do the best with this, but I'm not one to shy away from admitting you should probably have gone to somebody else besides me. But I tried to explain it the best of my ability. Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend this game. I mean, is it AAA? Obviously not. It's a free to play game, but I I really think it's fun, especially like if you don't play this game every day. I think it's still fun. I like just play it here and there. Um, I think there are some bugs going on. I personally haven't experienced any bugs in 3.0, but I've heard some things, so I don't know if it's just on PC that there's some bugs or whatnot. Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend this. And if you have any more questions, I would highly recommend going to other corners of YouTube because they could explain this far better than I did. But I hope you guys got the gist of it, and I hope you guys, if you guys do download, I hope you guys enjoy the game. So I will see you guys in the next video, and I will see you guys later. Peace!